Here's a beautiful home located in Cary, North Carolina. The homeowners had some concerns about indoor air quality and mold. There was a water staining on this drywall that was cut out. Apparently the duct that is in question has a lot of rust in the duct. That's a highly corrosive material that would create that much rust and send that rust into the air ducts. It's suspect that this fish tank is the source of that corrosive material. Because in the other rooms upstairs, the ducts do not look nearly as bad. There is debris and suspect mold within them, some oxidation, which is normal with the duct in the bathroom. But again, apart from an oily substance and light layer of debris, the ducts do not look the same. The air coming out of the ducts when the AC is on is very cold. Uh, this may be an indication that the system short cycles, which would create high levels of humidity and cause mold to grow. The return side shows a lot of debris in the ducts. Other boots upstairs are not corroded at all, and again, the air ducts are not full of rust. The one air duct downstairs does have mold growth on the supply register, which is an indication of a system that has humidity issues. And then inside that duct there is extensive mold growth. This type of mold growth is caused again by high levels of humidity within the system. The crawlspace access door does get rainwater entering it because it's so low. The air handler in the crawlspace looked good. On close inspection you can see mold growth on numerous areas on the air handler and the plumbing and the electrical. The condensation lines do not seem to be clogged. I believe this is a UV light that is not functional. UV light should not be used in a ductwork that has extensive mold growth in it, such as this distribution box, which is downstream of the air handler. This is an extensive amount of mold. Then there's a big duct that runs all the way upstairs, supplying conditioned air. This duct is the duct for the downstairs by the door, and you can see that it has mold in it, most likely Aspergillus penicillium. Here's the area where the vertical riser is, where the ducts run upstairs. There is mold growth on the outside of the ductwork in the crawl space. There is gravel around, so maybe there's a perimeter drain in the crawl space, but the moisture barrier is incomplete and it is generating moisture. This moisture makes for high humidity in the crawl space, which causes mold to grow on pretty much all of the surfaces. The main beams and the joists all have varying types of mold on them, which just says that this crawl space goes through different amounts of moisture at different seasons, causing the mold to grow and insulation to fall out. This is a concern because air from the crawl space is able to get into the living area through the unsealed penetrations in the floor. Another shot of mold on the main beam. Extensive mold growth above the air handler. We have an open foundation vent crawl space that's having humidity issues, so it's getting the insulation wet and pulling it down. The air ducts condensate seasonally, so they have extensive mold growth on them, and the main beam also has mold growth established on it, as well as to a lesser degree the actual joists. And the reason all this insulation is so discolored is because sometimes it is full of droplets of water and it's holding the dust. And that's the other reason why the plumbing also has mold growth on it, is because at times it's condensating. The system looks like it has a return and a supply duct that go up a vertical chase to feed the
air ducts in the plenum for the first and second floor. Again, there's a lot of signs of water staining and mold growth on virtually all surfaces, including the wiring, more on the subfloor. Pulling down the insulation. This crawl space is definitely a candidate for moisture control by having a closed crawl space. There is a strong musty odor down here. The moisture barrier is sweating, so it's actually condensating and creating moisture in the crawl space. This crawl space gets wet enough where we have different types of mold growing. Here's a green or a black type, and then here's a yellow type. And then here's a type that's growing on the main beam. This crawl space has signs of rodents. We have these nice round holes that are burrowed into the insulation, so another reason why it's falling down. And in areas where there is exposed wood, you have mold growth, and since the penetrations in the subfloor are not sealed, you have access for the crawl space mold and insects to go into the home. We opened up this supply side distribution box, and apparently this microbe swifter, I think that's a UV light, and it's not working. Inside this box is a tremendous amount of mold growth. Also, it's on this duct coming off. It's a little elaborate to get into this system to check the coil, so I'm not going to do that now, but apparently this system is putting out way too much moisture, either the one previous, I should say the air handler previous, or this air handler. There's no water in the overflow condensation line. The water in the pump is present and looks clear, so I'm assuming this pump is working. I don't see any drip marks, even though there's a bunch of mold underneath the air handler. Pretty much mold everywhere. Even extensive rusting on the light.
To summarize, I suspect the air conditioning unit is short cycling and not dehumidifying effectively, and that this is the cause of mold in the ductwork. Also, a corrosive substance was poured into the air ducts on the first floor. This is most likely from the saltwater tank. Our recommendations include a mold remediation of the air distribution system, so some ducts will be replaced, some will be sanitized and cleaned. Then monitor the humidity levels, consider a whole house dehumidifier, and lastly upgrade to a closed and conditioned crawl space in which the insulation has been removed and the wood treated and a liner installed. Thank you for the opportunity to be of service.